Now, A Man Called Otto was one of the first and one of the very best films that I saw in 2023. And it begins as though it might be a reimagining, even a pale imitation, based on what we see at the very beginning, of two esteemed Jack Nicholson comedy dramas, As Good as It Gets from 1997 and About Schmidt from 2002, both of which feature curmudgeonly older men who turn out to have a heart of gold beneath the grumpy veneer. Ultimately, as with Peter Fonda's underrated performance as a Vietnam vet in Yuli's Gold from the late 90s, these films came from an era that was suffused with Scrooge-like protagonists who earn their redemption after appreciating, albeit reluctantly, the long-forgotten bonds of kinship and belonging whose absence had turned them into misanthropes in the first place. Tom Hanks at first appears to be going through the motions of Nicholson's iconic performances as Melvin Udall and Warren Schmidt, and we never doubt that the vituperation he spouts will disintegrate, and a generous man with an instinct for helping other people will soon emerge. It's the classic redemption story par excellence, and A Man Called Otto does improve as it goes on, because we start to see, by way of a backstory, as if Hanks is being visited in his dreams by the ghost of Christmas past, what it is that happened in his past to cause him to be so cantankerous and antagonistic to everyone around him. We learn that his instinct is to come to people's rescue, and that this is how he met his late wife many decades earlier, when she dropped a book while on her way to catch a train. But circumstances since then, involving the loss of their child and her disability and a petty grievance with a neighbour, caused him to turn inward and to lash out at the world. There are moments of sentimental tweeness in this movie, but they are qualified by the counterpoint of witnessing the very specific ways in which Hanks endeavours to end his life, and why he thinks he is honouring the memory and service of his wife by committing suicide, even down to the length of rope he buys from the hardware store to enable him to hang from the light fixture in his living room. There is a darkly comedic element to the way in which every time he starts to hang himself, turn on the gas or jump from the station platform, somebody else's life intersects with his own, and he ends up saving them before it is his turn to end his. Now, the problem with this film, a remake of the 2015 Swedish movie, A Man Called Ove, is that Hanks never really convinces that he is so grumpy, that the film is clever for starting off with a caricature and subtly piling on the layers of characterization and history in order to explain the disjuncture between the man we see before us and what he once was and might soon become again, with the requisite love, help and support. When he does regain his humanity, indeed his soul, he does of course do that in spades, giving us an ending that would not look out of place in a Frank Capra film from the 1930s. At the preview screening where I saw this film, several members of the audience were in floods of tears, and it is impossible to watch A Man Called Otto without knowing that our heartstrings are being pulled. Otto may be a grouch, but he is not beyond the pale. And when he forms a friendship with a former pupil of his wife's who has been kicked out of their home because of their transgender status, his journey towards redemption is nearly complete. And as we learn, he literally, biologically, has a heart that is too big, which means he may not have to try too hard to find ways of killing himself, as he is on borrowed time as it is. Now, the film is by no means perfect, and it is certainly tonally inconsistent, but with its keenness to dwell on questions of death, reuniting with lost companions, love, loss, community and hope, it reminded me of why I fell in love with movies in the first place.